Hi everyone, so today I'm going to do a video about unravelling our emotional eating because our weight is just a symptom of a deeper rooted problem. And a lot of the time we focus on our weight, we deal with the weight, we deal with the symptom, but we don't deal with the cause of that symptom. And that's why we yo-yo diet, because the problem is still there. I use the analogy of like a tyre. If there's a nail in the tyre, you can blow the tyre up, but the tyre will always go back down because the nail hasn't been removed and the puncture hasn't been fixed. It's like that with our minds. And it runs so deep with the whole food and drink situation. So to give an overview of how our minds work, basically, they say 85% of what we do is subconscious, but some neuroscientists believe it's up to 95% of what we do is completely subconscious. That means that only 5% of our actions and reactions are within our control, and that only 5% we're aware of. It's absolutely crazy. So number one, you need to cut yourself some slack, because you know when you have these out-of-body experiences where you do things and then you think, I have no idea why I did that. Why did I do that? You wake up the next day and you're disappointed with yourself. You don't know why you've done it. That is because it's the 5% of your mind that you're conscious of knows you shouldn't be doing it. But the 95% of your programming that is guiding you is not in alignment with what you're wanting, and this is why we have to unravel our mind. And what we have to do is, in the 95% of us that's subconscious, there's all our beliefs and our programming, and that came from when we were younger. And all them beliefs and programming, they guide us silently throughout our adult life. And that's that 95% that we're completely unaware of. Now, if that 95% of programming and beliefs are out of alignment with our goals and dreams, we're not going to achieve them, because we're constantly going to be fighting. It's going to constantly feel like a battle, because there's only 5% of us that's driving towards this goal. The other 95% is pulling us back. Now, the way to look at this is that when we are children, what we experience and feel and see and hear on a continual basis forms the root of our beliefs. So an example, if we grew up and we on a consistent basis felt like we weren't good enough. Now, it's difficult, this one, because there's a lot of guilt linked to our parents, because we love our parents and we don't want to say anything bad about our parents. This process is not about that. Your parents might have done the absolute best for you, but there might have been certain things that happened, or certain things on certain ways of them dealing with things that made you feel not good enough. Now, it doesn't mean they're bad people. Everybody does the best with what they know at the time. But the reality is that if you felt a certain way, so let's use the example of not feeling good enough. If you felt not good enough on a continual basis, then what will happen is this will have formed a belief that then sits in your subconscious mind, and this becomes your truth. So the I'm not good enough belief becomes the truth. And it's almost like, as an adult, you look at the world through a lens influenced by that belief. So our subconscious mind's job is to keep us safe. Now, to me and you, safe would be to be around great people. It would be to make great decisions, to not mess things up. But safe to our subconscious mind is being in alignment with our beliefs. So if you think about it, if we've got a belief that we are not good enough, our subconscious mind's job is to keep us in alignment with that. So we are going to subconsciously be drawn to situations, drawn to people who validate this belief. It's almost like your belief is like a jigsaw piece, and the only thing that fits it is something that validates it. And this is why, and I used to be that girl, certain people get attracted to certain types of people. So if you've got a belief that's not good enough, you will be attracted to a person that validates it. So they might be very critical, they might not be very kind to you at times. And this is why people go from a type of relationship, they go from one to the other, to the other, to the other. And it's quite often the same type of person that they end up with. That is because their jigsaw piece fits it. So what we need to do it's really difficult when someone's behaviour is poor, because we end up focusing on their poor behaviour. If someone's treating you badly, you will focus on their poor behaviour because they are not behaving well. You know, that is the truth. But what I didn't realise years ago, and what changed my life, was realising that actually, yes, their behaviour is poor, but I had a jigsaw piece that fit it, and I had to work out what that jigsaw piece was. And it wasn't until I changed my own beliefs and jigsaw pieces that my outer world changed, because your outer world, what is going on in your outer world, is a reflection of what is going on inside. Everything in your life, the good and the bad, fits a jigsaw piece. So there will be lots of great things in your life reflecting the positive beliefs and programming that you've got, but then there'll be things that you would want to change, and our weight is one of those things. Now, what we've got to ask ourselves is how we feel about our weight. Now, a lot of the time, these things, so it's a feeling. So what happens is, in our adult life, we go around in circles. So it's not circumstantial. So for instance, our weight, we might not have had a weight problem when we were younger, but the feeling that our weight gives us will be very familiar to us. So for instance, when I'd gained weight, I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt inadequate. I felt like I just wasn't, I felt like I was a disappointment. And you've got to look at these feelings, and then you've got to link them back to where did that feeling come from. Now, again, this is not about pointing the finger at our parents and going, you made me feel not good enough and I felt like a disappointment, because quite often that is not actually the case at all with our parents. And quite often we feel like a disappointment, but their intention is never to make us feel like that. So I'm just checking, I'm meeting someone to deliver some parcels. Look at this. Anyway, so if we've got to focus on the feeling, and the feeling will be very familiar to us. So look at all them feelings and then think to yourself, when did I feel that way when I was younger? And now this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because what you've got to do is, we all have an inner child, and this is how I explain it. It's a bit of a funny explanation, but it kind of helps me and other people to kind of understand it a bit better. We've all got an inner child, right? And that inner child quite often has a couple of things that need healing. Whether you had a great childhood, a bad childhood, we've all got things that need fixing, because we live in an imperfect world. We're brought up by imperfect people. We ourselves are imperfect. That is just life. It's normal. So this inner child has things that need to be healed, but this inner child can't talk to us. And this inner child is the 95% of our brain that's subconscious. This inner child cannot talk to us and tell us what the problem is. So it's almost like the outer world of our life, so the people around us, the circumstances we find ourselves in, how we feel in situations, it's like these things are all like a game of charades that our inner child is doing to try and show you what is the problem. So like with your weight, if you are, for instance, doing really well and then falling off the wagon, and then you feel like you're a disappointment, you feel like you're a failure, you feel like you can't do it, you feel like all these things, it could be that your inner child is trying to say, listen, we felt like this growing up, and this is the thing that needs to be healed. And the way that you do it, it's very simple, but it's not easy. So whenever you feel like this in your adult life, so like with the food, if you wake up the next day and you think, I feel like such a disappointment, don't focus on that. Listen, we all make mistakes. Don't focus on that. So the key is to stop, because the minute that you engage in that feeling, it's like you're patting your subconscious child on the head and saying, yes, this is what we believe. Keep doing this. Keep making me feel attracted to these situations. Keep making me fail, because this is our belief. So to your inner child and your programming and your belief systems, this 95% of your brain, it's programmed for you to do these things because you believe that you are not good enough. You believe that you're a disappointment, but it's your inner child that believes that. That's not the truth. So what you do is you stop yourself. The minute that you feel like that, you stop and you go, right, no, this is not the truth. And then what you do is, rather than focus on the now, you take it back to where it came from. This is not the truth. You say how you feel. I'm feeling like I'm a disappointment. I'm feeling like I'm not good enough. It's not the truth. Then you take it back. Step 2, take it back and you go, this is linked to when I was younger and I used to feel like I wasn't good enough. I used to feel like I was a disappointment. So that's step 2. So you've taken it away from where you are and linked it back. So you've connected the dots. Then you go to yourself, this isn't true. And step 3 is you disprove it in your life now. So you find any situation you can that disproves that that this belief that you're not good enough. I am good enough because I'm a great mom. I'm good enough because I'm doing well at business. I'm good enough because I'm good enough to my husband. And you disprove it. And then step 4 is you say a power statement, which is what you would want that belief to be, what we're going to replace it with. So I am good enough, and I do my best. And then what you do is, on a repeated basis, if you can do this every time you feel like you're a disappointment, that you're not good enough, and all these things that this food situation is bringing to you, because the food is a symptom. The food isn't the thing we need to focus on, it's the feeling. The feeling that the situation about how you feel about your weight and how you act in a diet, all that is linked to a feeling, and the feeling is the thing we need to focus on. And now the feeling, when we link it back to our childhood, it's the feeling. The circumstances might be completely different. I didn't used to, binge eat and fall off the wagon when I was little. The feeling of not feeling good enough and feeling like I was a disappointment, that would link to when I was younger. Yeah? So you take that back. It's the feeling that you take back, not the circumstances. And if you can do them 4 steps, what happens is that the minute that you engage in the feelings in real time, is that, like I say, you're patting your subconscious mind on the back and going, yes, this is what we believe. Let's keep feeling like this because this is the truth. The minute you stop it, it's like you short circuit it. If you imagine, we're all on like little roundabouts. We go round and round, don't we? On the same roundabout. And then the minute that we stop ourselves and we take it back and do those steps, we jolt the roundabout, and then the roundabout moves a little bit more slowly, and it will come back round because it takes repetition. It took repetition and consistency for all these beliefs to be formed. It takes repetition and consistency for them to be reformed. So it isn't going to happen overnight, but every time you stop yourself when you're feeling that way and you take it back to where it belongs, and then you disprove it, and then you say your power statement, every time you do that, you jolt your little subconscious mind, your little inner child, you jolt her or him, and they go, oh, so we don't believe this. And then the roundabout slows down, and then it'll come round again and you jolt it. No, this is not the truth. And each time you do that, the roundabout will slow down. Now, I don't believe the roundabout ever fully stops, because I think when we're susceptible to certain feelings, that is like our default setting. So I've done a lot of personal development, but there are occasions in my life where I briefly tap into them old feelings. But I've done that much work and done the steps that actually it's brief. A classic example, I've printed a load of books out with my other business, and I found a mistake. Now, in years gone by, I would have felt not good enough. I would have felt inadequate. Do you know what? Because I've done so much work and the steps, I had a brief moment and it lasted 5 minutes, and I thought, it is what it is. We're human, we make mistakes. So you once you've got susceptibility to a certain feeling and a way of being, it will rear its ugly head at times, but it will become less and less and less. And then 4 steps, whenever you feel a certain way, if you can detach yourself from now, and it works for any situation. If you've got a relationship that you're not happy with, if someone's treating you a certain way, look at how you feel. Think about that, because that feeling, whatever feeling you've got, will be so familiar to you. So familiar. Take it back and link it. And the circumstances might be completely chalk and cheese, but the feeling will be familiar. Take it back, do the steps. So you stop yourself and acknowledge how you feel. I feel X, Y, Z. Number 2, take it back. This isn't true, but it's just linked to when I was younger and I used to feel like this because of X, Y, Z. Number 3, bring it back to the present. Disprove that belief. Disprove it in your current life. This is not the truth because this and this and this prove that I am good enough, or I am, enough, or whatever it is that you're feeling. And then number 4, your power statement. And honestly, if you do that as much as you can, you will start seeing your outer world change, because your jigsaw piece will change shape, which means that your outer world will change too. And it is magic, and you will feel more empowered, because we feel at the mercy of our circumstances. But when in reality, when we start looking at it through our jigsaw piece, we actually become empowered, because we know that we have the power to change anything in our life. And our weight is just a symptom of the little inner you that just needs a little bit of tender loving care. So give it a go. Let me know what you think. See you later.